Yes, Mr. Shaskelson.
Thank you, Chair. Advocate Harrison, if we can just go back to page 243 where we were before the break.
Yes, Council. I am there.
I'm just waiting for it to come up on the screen.
Wow.
And there you will see that in the Minister's letter, he refers to the recommendation about a single court for the PKTT matters, and we've discussed that already. In his second last paragraph, he says, I'm also in engagement with correctional services to find a correctional facility where all inmates who are on trial for the above-mentioned offence can be housed. Did this ever happen?
Chair, Commissioners, I don't think this eventually was successful, because my recollection of what's going on is that they are housed in prisons nearby where their trials are proceeding. So I don't think there was any specific correctional facility that was ever found for just them specifically.
Thank you. And of course, if the single court idea was not implemented, then correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that it would not make sense to have a single correctional services facility servicing courts scattered across the province.
Yes, that would be correct, because the court would then, yeah, that would be correct.
If we can then go back to your statement and paragraph 23, and you've been describing attempts to provide better coordination around political killings. Did those attempts have a positive result?
Commissioners, that is correct. The documents which we have just referred to as Annexure D, and once we had dedicated capacity from the organized crime component, which is now responding to the political task team, it seemed everything was then put into place. We're not saying there weren't any further challenges that may have been found, but that was the coordination that yielded the results that were being requested for.
And at what stage did you start seeing results from the coordinated strategy?
I would like to benchmark with the COVID, as I've referred to in paragraph 23, and maybe can I just read out what paragraph 23 says, Council? Thank you. The interventions discussed in my letter were introduced in 2019. Prior to COVID, increased efficiencies were already visible. COVID then interrupted matters in 2020, but by 2021, it was clear that the improved coordination of these matters was producing speedier enrollment and finalization of political murder trials.
Can I ask, you talk about by 2021, was that state of affairs sustained going forward from 2021 through to 2024?
It was sustained.
And in terms of the practicalities and the efficiencies of the system that you had in place, did you see any need for the disestablishment of the task team and the disestablishment of the system that you had in place?
Council, I did not see any need for it.
Can I take you then to paragraph 25, where you say that the most important innovation that improved coordination was a single dedicated unit within the KZN NPA with dedicated capacity to handle all political killings case, which allowed for prosecutor-guided investigation. Can you explain to the Commission what prosecutor-guided investigation is, and maybe amplify what you say from paragraph 26 onwards.
Prosecutor-guided investigations is a methodology that is used by, it's used within the space of the National Prosecuting Authority, working closely with the South African Police Service. Here, it's basically where it is used mainly in the units because they have a particular methodology which they use regarding, and it's practical for them as well. So the police and the prosecutors sit down together, and then they go through the case. They guide if there are investigations that are outstanding. The investigations are then guided, but you sit down together in a room and you discuss the dockets, and you are all in agreement with regards to the investigations that still need to be conducted. The document that can be kept, and in this instance of PGI, there's a specific document that is used. It is signed off by the prosecutor and the investigator, which is then to show I am in agreement and we agree that this is what needs to be done and by which date. So there will be actions and then they give a date when an action needs to be done. So that when you come back for the next case progress meeting on that specific matter, your guiding document will be your PGI document.
And how did PGI, or maybe if I can refer you to paragraph 27 and 28, can you explain to the Commission how PGI operated within the context of the organised crime component in the PKTT?
Thank you, Chair. Upon an engagement with the deputy who was in charge of this portfolio, he has explained it, and we've seen it also happen, whereby before, when a case is first brought by the political task team, what happens is that they have a case progress meeting. At this case progress meeting, they also introduce or present cases which are new, so new cases on their database. They will present these cases in that case progress meeting. What then will happen is that they will guide the investigation at that meeting. Once the investigation is about, let's say, 80% to 90% finalized, what then happens is that that particular docket is then brought to the offices of the organized crime component. It is registered in that office. It is then allocated to a prosecutor who then starts dealing with the PGI that you've been talking about to finalize whatever investigations needs to be finalized. And that is how they began working, and also just so that the investigations gets fast-tracked. And the good system about PGI, it holds you really accountable because you sat there at the meeting and you said, I could do a specific action by a specific date. So why have you not done it? So this is the good system, the methodology about PGI.
And can I take you to paragraph 28 where you discuss some of the particular advantages in this PGI context of the facilities at the disposal of the PKTT team?
Thank you, Counsel. So after registration, the prosecutor allocated with the docket peruses the docket and thereafter meets with the investigating officer and they discuss the remaining investigation which needs to be conducted. This is also noted and agreed upon. As the PKTT has a multidisciplinary team, the investigations can be finalized at a faster rate, for example, ballistics, cell phone analysis, tracking of suspects and or accused and profiling same. Counsel, can I just maybe elaborate on that?
No, please do.
I want to take you now to Annexure D, the functionaries that I'm talking about. That is page 223, Commissioners.
Maybe before you take us there, let's just confirm that date that you were referring to. So remember you said Annexure D came after Annexure C. So just to confirm that on page 225, bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that bullet point confirms an earlier briefing, which suggest then that this document came after that earlier briefing,
Yes.
right? And then you can move on to the point you wanted to make.
Now, this, if you look at Annexure D, page 223, I'm going to take you to, Chairperson, this copy is not, maybe, I don't know if they can put it there on the,
It's only the cover page
I do
that is
have a
not
clearer
all that
copy.
legible, and also the top parts, the headings. If you remember the headings, you can just tell us what they are. Oh, sorry.
Page 8.
Gosh.
Page 8 of that document, it talks to investigation.
Chair, that's 230.
229,
Yes, page 230.
230, or 230, or the next one, the next page. Yeah. What should we do, Mr. Chancellor?
Advocate Harrison was going to take us through this page, if it's possible for her to read it.
I will read it out, Chairperson.
Sorry?
I will read it out.
Oh,
So that there's an understanding where I'm trying to go to with it. On my paragraph 20, I'm now responding to paragraph 28, where I talk about, as the PKTT had a multidisciplinary team, the investigations could be finalized at a faster rate. And if you look at page 8 of Annexure D, which is now on page 230, at the bottom of that page, Chair, Commissioners, it gives you the functionaries that there were from SAPS. The first, and those are the many at the
Are
one.
you referring to the 8 blocks right at the bottom?
Yes, yes. Those were the functionaries. Remember, this is our documents now that we've developed so that we can work and
I
address
see
all the
The
issues.
first one is forensic something.
Forensic team,
And the next one, intelligence, I think.
team, combat team,
Combat. Call data analysis, something.
call data analysis team,
My eyesight is not that bad. And digital something.
analysis team,
And ballistics,
ballistics team,
operational, what?
analysis team. And then the last one is the operations support team.
Okay.
Would it be possible for you to explain what these teams mean? I mean, what different teams do and why it's useful to have them all in one overarching team?
Chairperson, I will request that this specific, these are functionaries that fell there. I do not know all of them, but the issue of like the call data analyst team, that would be important for our cell phone record analysis. Our ballistics team, that would be important for our ballistic analysis reports. Intelligence team would be for the tracing of suspects and accused. I would really leave this because this, if you look at it, that was for, that came with the task team, the PKTT. My team is described on page 9 of that, which is page 230 of the documents before us.
Not 230, not 231.
Sorry, 230 of the document.
231
231.
for page 9.
231, sorry, chapter
Yes.
231, which is the next page.
Yeah.
That explains the prosecution team that we were coming with to respond to the task team.
So I see at the top, it's Major General S.D. Kumalo and Advocate Govender, alongside each other at the same level.
Yes, Chairperson.
And can you just speak to Advocate Govender's role?
May we make this request, please? Can we be given better copies after the testimony?
Well, not immediately after, Chair,
no,
but we
no, no,
will
no,
source
no,
them.
no. Yes.
Absolutely, Chair. We will
Thank
get
you.
legible copies.
Advocate Govender.
Indeed.
Advocate Govender is the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. She, at the time, was heading the organized crime components until Advocate Gaba was appointed. But before him, there had been an Advocate Mashamaite. But at the time of the adoption of this, it was Advocate Govender. Now I've got Advocate Gaba, who is now heading the portfolio.
Thank you. And then can you describe the rest of your team?
The rest of my team was made up as follows. Remember, Advocate Govender is now the dedicated capacity. So she is now responding with her prosecutors to the PKT team. Then it had been agreed upon that any other parallel matter would then go back to the clusters being the chief prosecutors, and they have their own structure within the clusters. So that's how we would operate, but the dedicated capacity was given to the organized crime component. And that is explained, our prosecutorial role is explained on page, well, it's contained there on page 231. Just the structure going down.
And if we go back to your statement and the point that you made that you had these different, almost specialized capacities within the task team, can you just explain to the Commission how that helped us? Can you contrast that with a situation where that specialized capacity in one place doesn't exist, and what happens when the specialized capacity is not in one place?
Okay. When you've got specialized and dedicated capacity, then turnaround times are faster. The work is dedicated. They solely focus on that work. And as soon as you start taking away functionaries, then there are delays. And that was one of our concerns, was the functionaries. I think paragraph 29, Council, if you look at it, I explained it very well in that paragraph.
Maybe if you can read paragraph 29.
Since the de-establishment letter of 31 December 2024, Advocate Gaba, who is the DDPP holding the portfolio in the OCC, has reported that the PKTT no longer has all these functionaries, and this is affecting their investigation turnaround times, resulting in the decisions now being delayed. This is a concern because when the whole process of requesting for dedicated capacity was made, the PKTT and the minister had complained that the prosecutors were taking too long to making decisions, and this had then been corrected. Now the functionaries are taken away, and now there's a delay with regards to investigations.
So now, with functionaries away, how do you get a ballistics test done or a cell phone analysis done?
It will then go back to the usual manner in which we've been dealing in, wherein we'll just have to wait until the ballistic report is produced. Whereas while we were working with the when the functionaries, all the functionaries are in place, when the exhibits, how they were working is that when the exhibit is recovered, the normal process of ensuring that it's allocated the SAP 13 number, booked into the SAP 13, taken out, taken immediately for ballistics. Now it means because the functionaries are not there for those who have been charged of that, it means it has to wait for someone else, be booked into the SAP 13, then someone else will have to come at a later stage to book it out of the SAP 13, then taken to the ballistic unit, then wait for the time when at ballistics, whereas if we had this coordination, you've got someone specifically allocated to look after that function.
Advocate Harrison, if I may, this concern that you register now, that since the functionaries are no longer available and it's the impact of prosecuting these matters, that concern would be addressed now that the dockets have been returned. Does it follow? Have been returned to KZN? Or to the PKTT, let me say.
This impact started before the dockets were even taken. So what Advocate Gaba reported was that there were some functionaries. So after this whole letter now that was in the media, and he's in consultation with General Khumalo, is that it also was that the PKTT was no longer having all the functionaries that had been there before this de-establishment letter. So some of them had now been removed.
Okay. Well, I mean, from the evidence that we've heard, the instruction to disband was not implemented, other than the instruction to remove the dockets. That's what I'm trying to probe, that you would have had that problem, even though the instruction was not given effect to.
I think, Commissioner, that will be testified on more by General Khumalo, but this is what I received from Advocate Gaba, who works closely with General Khumalo, to say this is the impact that we are now having, that we do not have all the functionaries within the, so our matters are going to be taking a little bit longer.
If we can just develop that theme and go to your paragraph 30, where you talk about your internal response to the 22 May letter from General Mkhwanazi about the removal of the dockets. Can you explain to the Commission what you did and what was reported to you?
Okay. After the correspondence of 22 May 2025 from General Mkhwanazi, I approached General Gaba regarding these cases. He advised that all PKTT cases which were not in court had been taken from them and that the unit was left with the court-going cases only. This meant that there was no prosecutorial guidance on investigations which could proceed on cases not in court. Effectively, this meant that the prosecutors were dealing only with the PKTT cases that were on the court roll.
And can I just ask you to explain that in some detail? If I understand, the whole model of prosecutor-guided investigation presupposes that the docket is essentially under the control of the prosecutor in some respect. The docket, or the investigating officer and the prosecutor work in coordination, and the investigating officer has the docket. Sorry, you just nodded your head.
Yes, that is correct, because remember the dockets is the property of the SAPS.
Of the SAPS, not the NPA. But of course, if the investigating officer no longer has the docket, that model can't work.
It means there's no investigations that can continue, especially regarding the matters that were not on the court roll, including matters that were on the court roll, but maybe there'd still been some investigations that were still required to be finalized. Because you must remember with these matters, it's not that a matter will always be a decision matter. In some matters, there are straight arrests. Therefore, the matter gets gets enrolled, and then the investigation takes place. Although the preferred methodology is to investigate and then arrest. But we did have cases which were on the court roll, but there were still some investigations that were outstanding. For example, I would say, like, let's say a ballistic report is outstanding, or a photograph album is outstanding, but the evidence implicating a accused to the commission of the offense is there, all of it. It's just this little evidence just that is outstanding, or something, but most of those were on the court roll.
Well, maybe you can illustrate with respect to paragraph 31. And for the benefit of those of us who are not familiar with the sort of serial numbers of documents, can you also explain in that context what a J50 is?
A J50 is a warrant of arrest. That's basically what it is. And where we're saying that we want a straight of arrest of this person. And basically, what then happened is I was further informed that there had also been dockets removed, which had J50 warrants issued, but which had not yet been executed. So in other words, what was left here was simply for accused to, for the police to go and execute the J50. That was all that was outstanding. Have the matter enrolled and the case be, and we take the matter forward. So some of these, the matters the dockets had been removed, meaning that they couldn't execute. We had to wait until the docket comes back before the J50 could be executed.
And then in paragraph 32, you confirm that indeed happened.
Yes, after the return of the dockets from Pretoria, a J50 was executed on one of the PKTT matters, and the matters was enrolled. If my memory serves me correct, Council, about 2 weeks ago or a week ago, we had this one of these matters put back on the court roll. I just can't remember the court dates, unfortunately. I didn't prepare for that one.
And what is the current status quo?
The current status is that the prosecutors are now still working with the task team on guiding the investigations in the case dockets, which had previously been taken away. But I just want to indicate we've lost approximately March, April, May, about 3 months, 2 months of investigations being conducted.
And is that the duration of the time that you did not have access to the dockets? That's
the duration of the time. I just didn't get the exact dates when we started to get back. Remember, they would have been returned back to SAPS. From there, they would have then, or to the task team, or I don't know. Then from there, they would be returned back to the prosecutors. So we've had some time lost. And why I say this is, I want to bring to the attention the letter of the Minister Cele, where one of the things that he was complaining about was the delays in regards to these matters. Now, because of the dockets being taken away, exactly what Minister Cele was talking about at that time, we see it now happening during this time. So we cannot be held responsible for this delay now, because we are not responsible for these dockets being taken away.
In response to Commissioner Baloyi's question, her last question, you said that some of the members of some of the teams within this coordinated or integrated team had since left. Now you say the integrated or coordinated process is back in force. Does this mean those team members that had left are back or not yet?
Chairperson, I'm not yet sure about whether all of them are back. I cannot respond to that. I didn't query that, whether, and let me just say, I didn't query whether everyone is back. I think for me at this stage was, we need to get the work going. That is all I need, is let's get the work going. We've lost time now in these matters, and we owe certain people or victims responses to these matters. Let's get the matters going. Thank you, Chair.
If I can just put some dates to you. The evidence has been that the dockets were taken to Pretoria in 2 stages, on the 28th of March and the 22nd of April, and that they were returned on the 18th of August. So it would have been 3 to 4 months that your system was interrupted.
That is correct, Council.
If I may, and in the time that the dockets were removed, there had been, until they were returned, there had been no engagement from head office with your team of prosecutors in respect of the matters that they were involved with.
Chairperson, Commissioner, sorry, when you say head office, our head office or SEPS?
No, I'm saying with your prosecution team that had been part of this integrated team.
Yes.
The dockets are now at head office, SAPS head office, sorry.
Okay.
At SAPS head office. There was nothing.
There was nothing. Commissioner, there was no engagement by SEPS national office with the dedicated capacity within my unit, within my office.
Advocate Harrison, you previously said that no one consulted with you prior to the decision, apparent decision to disestablish the task team. What would your position been if anyone had consulted you prior to taking such a decision, or for your views on whether such a decision should be taken?
You know, after everything is said and done, and everything that went into providing the coordinated approach and providing this coordinated team, I would have strongly motivated against the de-establishment. If I had been approached for a comment, I would have.
And why?
Because it showed that it was working. At that time, it was very evident that the team was working well, and to de-establish it would both be counterproductive and also destructive of the vast amounts of work that had gone into shaping the system and the structures that were now working well.
And can you just repeat for us what structures were the structures that, in your view, were working well?
The structures, that's the coordinated approach that was now between the PKTT and the dedicated capacity that was there. You can see even today, they are still working well and they continue to work well.
In paragraph, the last paragraph rather, of Annexure MK9, I know you probably do not have that in front of you. That's the letter by Minister Mkhwanazi dated 31 December 2024, addressed to the National Commissioner of Police, General Masemula. In the last paragraph of that letter, the Minister says, "My observation is that the further existence of the PKTT is no longer required, nor is it adding any value to policing in South Africa." So based on the few responses you gave just now in response to Advocate Chaskalson, you do not agree with this?
I do not agree with that, Commissioner.
And as you sit here today in
I'm
this...
sorry, did I give
sorry,
the page
Chair.
number? Did I give the page number? Annexure MK9 starts at page 185, and what I read is at page 186. Thank you, Mr. Chaskalson.
And Advocate Harrison, as you sit here today, has anyone given you any formal indication of what the status of the task team is today?
Council, I still do not know the status. We continue to operate on the premise that there has been no de-establishment of the task team.
Thank you, Advocate Harrison. I don't have further questions well, for you.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not sure if the commissioners would like to put questions to you.
Just one for me. Advocate Harrison, the letter the chairperson is referring to is on the screen. The relevant paragraphs are the last two paragraphs, and the heading is 3, Political Killings Task Team. And you will see from that letter that the minister says he has made certain observations and he has decided, or rather directs, that the task team be established immediately. Now, assume for a moment that it was competent for the minister to disband the task team. Would you have expected that be done immediately, or what would have been your expectation, knowing what you know about the task team and its work?
In my opinion, Commissioner, you've got a system that is working, and if that is what is intended, you know, when you say the word immediately and you go and you look up the word immediately, it's today, pack up your bags and go. You can't do that. We are victim-centered as NPA. We would have probably requested for some time a continuation, because we've invested even not only in, it's not the victims, but our witnesses. We develop a rapport with our witnesses, who develop a rapport with regards to investigators, even bringing them to the prosecutor for consultation or for trial purposes. Now, when you say get up and go today, it's you leave everything. The better process was, let's sit down and let's try and find a system which will work for the benefit of ensuring that the interests of justice are always maintained, and we look after our victims and we look after our witnesses.
So is it fair to say you would have expected a proper winding down process that takes into account victims, ongoing cases, and ongoing investigations, including those cases that are on the roll?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you, DPP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
For the record, Mr. Shaskalsin, it has been reported to us that the issue of General Khumalo appearing in court on Monday, Magistrates Court, has been resolved with regard to his appearance before us at 9:30 on Monday.
Yes, Chair, I have, I have consulted with both the prosecutor and his legal team, and I understand that it has been resolved.
That is the position. Thank you very much. Let us adjourn and resume at 9:30 on Monday. Let's adjourn.